Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Sunday night. Sunday night is upon us, the end of the weekend. September 8th, 2024 is the date. About 10:43 p.m. California time here. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D Globe shows a 1.4 earthquake across the Northern California area. Let's go ahead and check out, see what's going on out here across the West Coast, where we've been watching some elevated activity out here recently across California and Nevada. Nevada has definitely ramped up out here throughout the evening and the late afternoon time period, with some various magnitude earthquakes out here across the Goldfield Hills area once again. Looking at a total tally within this area of about 165 earthquakes in the last 7 days. So we've seen a tremendous amount of earthquake activity out here of various magnitudes across this area of Nevada. And that is very indicative there across the region as a whole in terms of stress accumulation across the plate boundary. So even though it may seem, according to us, our little humans, little ants here on the ant farm out here, if you think about it, in terms of plate tectonics, though, from the San Andreas Fault to Nevada is very minimal. We're talking only a couple hundred miles, so compared to the size here. You have to look at the bigger picture of things when it comes to these intraplate earthquakes here. They give a very good indicator of the stress that's being accumulated out here across the plate boundary itself. So when we see elevated earthquake activity inland here, talking about inland for us here, away from the plate boundary, that tells us here that things are quite strained out here across the plate boundary itself. And that's the San Andreas Fault, folks. We've seen the activity on the increase out here over the past 2 months, more so than what we've seen probably in the last 20 years. So things are on the major uptick out here across various areas of Southern California. Ridgecrest, Bakersfield, the area around Rancho Cucamonga area. Now this region's seen a pretty good swarm of activity in the last couple days out here. We're approaching almost 50 earthquakes here across the area south of Rancho Cucamonga, and the seismologists call this the Fontana swarming area. Right, it's off of any major fault system out here, but they say that there's almost always swarming out here in this region. But I consider this a swarm of the overall picture that's being painted out here across Southern California, and that is that things are on the danger zone, dangerous conditions going on out here across Southern California. And I don't use that word too much, but I haven't observed this type of activity so much here in the last few years. Since I've been studying earthquake activity, geology, and plate tectonics out here, I've seen nothing of the such that has taken place out here recently in terms of earthquake activity. So I watch this stuff daily. It's not like I jump on board occasionally here and provide earthquake updates. This is something I do as a profession. I'm going to school to get my master's degree in physical science. I've studied this for many years, and I've been doing these YouTube videos for about 4 years, full-time 4 years, but I've been doing it since 2006 is when I jumped on YouTube. But as far as full-time studies go, last 4 years. So when you put together all the increasing activity, Ridgecrest, Bakersfield, the Puente Hills Thrust Fault, all along the San Jacinto Fault Zone. Look at this cluster of activity here migrating across the southern branch here of the San Andreas Fault. That's an obvious sign there, folks, of something big time getting ready to happen out here across the area of the plate boundary. That is a no joke type of scenario right about here. Look at that area along the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. It's a cluster of activity that's been increasing more so day in day. So it's not fear-mongering, folks. I don't like the word fear-mongering. There's always going to be probably about a 1 or 2% percentage of my viewers out there that say, oh, you're just in it for the views, you're in it for the clicks, you know, you're just trying to stir up activity and make money. Well, if that was the case, think about this. I wouldn't have anything to talk about if this wasn't a story out here. There's been a tremendous amount of earthquake activity out here across Southern California compared to years past. And Dr. Lucy Jones has said it herself. It's not just me. This is verified scientific data coming in here. We've seen it on the maps. We've seen it on many different graphs, and many different YouTube stations, I'm sure, have talked about the Southern California earthquake activity. So I'm only here to provide a warning and kind of a communication system out here for everyone to prepare for something bigger out here. Potentially, we are looking at something major happening out here across Southern California, unlike what we've seen in recent times here. This area of the San Andreas Fault is very capable of producing an 8.1 magnitude earthquake. That is not fear-mongering. That is just the facts. If someone were to say, yeah, the moon's going to come up tomorrow and it's going to be full, oh, you're just fear-mongering and blah, blah, blah. It's these naysayers are a parasite. These naysayers are a parasite on the scientific community. So ignore those people that are kind of, they remind me of termites. They jump in on my videos and many other videos across the YouTube platform, and they kind of yak their mouth like so to speak. There, I'm just kind of making it a little bit comedic here, a little bit of comedy here in the script tonight, because there's always going to be a couple people out here that are saying, oh, there's nothing happening in Southern California that hasn't happened here in the last 20 years. But technically, we haven't seen any elevated activity out here like we've seen in the recent times in the last 20 years. I can guarantee you that. So I don't like to pay attention to the naysayers because that gives them energy, right? It gives them motivation to produce more negative comments on my videos and other videos alone. So I'm here to pronounce the facts out here and to make people aware of the activity that's occurring around a major plate boundary that's very capable of producing Southern California's most dangerous earthquake, an 8.1 out here. That would set off a chain of events that could potentially produce further large-scale activity upstream and maybe the Cascadia subduction zone. If you think about it here, it's kind of odd, right? The last Cascadia megaquake out here was 324 years ago. The last major rupture here across the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault was over 300 years ago. So coincidentally, we could see a triggering of events out here. It's only in recent times here that, me and you, I was born in the 70s. Okay, I'll admit I was born in the 70s. What is that? Generation X, I think? I don't know. I don't really care about the generations out there. All I know is that there is a time period out here that we've been living across the West Coast and human nature in general where things have been A-OK. Right? You can throw up that peace sign and think everything's okay out here, folks. Everything's just hunky-dory, right? San Francisco Bay Area is the place to be. Los Angeles area, Southern California, let's bring our family out here. This is the place to be, folks. 2024. Bring your family out here, right? It's booming. Okay, aside from I'm not an economy type of guy, right? The economy sucks out here. But geology-wise, I wouldn't bring my family out here because an 8.1 earthquake is predicted and forecasted out here as a high percentage across Southern California in the future. Not only that, not only the plate boundary, there's various other areas out here that are capable of producing a large earthquake that would liquefy the Southern California area, and specifically Los Angeles. Liquefaction is not something you want to hear across Los Angeles. Okay? We're talking about sinking of the ground. You guys really want to sink in quicksand out here? Not really quicksand, but liquefaction, right? Not only that 8.1, but there's more recently the 7.5 predicted earthquake out here across downtown Los Angeles with the Puente Hills thrust fault is a major concern here. So when I speak of these large earthquakes and these large events here, I'm letting folks in the community know that there's scientific data, verified scientific data, that there's earthquake activity coming to your near future. Plate tectonics is not going to slow down because there's a stadium being built in Los Angeles, or there's a poor community out here in Rancho Cucamonga. That's a fact. So we have to be aware of the potential hazards out here. An 8.1, a 7.5, a 6.5 underneath Long Beach. I don't know how else to explain to people that it's coming. It is coming, and that's a fact. A lot of people get complacent and state that there's always earthquake activity in Southern California. You're right. You are very right to an extent. And look at the last 30 days of earthquake activity of various magnitudes, right? We're talking about over 1,500 earthquakes, 1,613 earthquakes here of various magnitudes across Southern California. That's a lot of earthquake activity. And I've done comparisons here over the last couple days on my channel. I'm not going to do it again, folks, because it does accumulate time out here. But we've seen way more earthquakes this year than what we've seen in any other time period in the past. So tell me right there, tell me that I am fear-mongering. Please tell me that I'm fear-mongering that. Because you're false. You are very false when it comes to fear-mongering. I don't like to pay attention to those negative naysayers, but are they popping up on my videos? So I'd appreciate it if you see that out there. Please respond accordingly, and let me know that those comments are being popped up here on my videos. But we've seen way more earthquake activity than what we've seen here historically in Southern California. The elevated increasing earthquake activity out here is a sign of potentially larger scale activity about ready to take place. Dr. Lucy Jones, okay, if you want to put her face up here on my screen, on my thumbnail, doesn't matter, okay? She herself, a seismologist, a very world-renowned seismologist, has stated that for every 4 to 5 magnitude earthquake, the increasing chances of a larger earthquake activity occurs. And we have seen more 3s, 4s, and 5s out here in Southern California than what we've seen here in the last couple decades. So things are increasing out here across Southern California in a big fashion. That is not fear-mongering, folks. That's scientific data. There's bad science. There's pseudoscience. You have to look at the facts here, okay? I've seen numerous... it's funny kind of to follow some of these Twitter accounts, X accounts, and they put out forecasts out here. They put out 60% chance for a 5.0 out here across San Andreas Fault, 80% chance of a 7.0 out here across the southern portion of Southern California. And these are just fear-mongering, bad science channels. I can't call them pseudoscience because they're providing wrong information. There's nothing that's backing up their information out there when it comes to the scientific data of the plate tectonics and the earthquake activity out here. What I'm doing in a term of real science is providing data out here across Southern California that's been on the elevated earthquake activity uptick. So, say for example, this is your home outside here at Bakersfield, okay, on an ant scale. Occasionally, you got ants stirring up out here across the southern area of these mountain ranges. All of a sudden, there's a swarm of ants approaching your area of your home, right? What do, right? This is a kind of a main focus to exterminate those ants out here. And that, ants and earthquake activity, I don't know. That's probably not the best overall aspect of things, but increasing earthquake activity here across the plate boundary here that we've seen, not just today, folks. It's not just today. This is over the past 6 weeks that we've seen major elevated activity here in a triangle fashion here. You can pretty much draw from Ridgecrest westward here across the Garlock Fault shear zone to Bakersfield, where they've seen that 5.2, southward along the San Andreas Fault here. This area is, I'm telling you, there's something major about ready to happen out here. It's undeniable. And even though we get these little phases of elevated activity and quiet spells, that's just the way the plate tectonics work out here. When things are quiet out here across the western areas of the Pacific plate, things get really tense out here across the eastern areas. And that's where we're at right now, folks. So the best thing to do is take heed. Be on guard. Okay, it's not fear-mongering. I'm working towards my master's degree in geology, physical science, earthquake activity. Okay, so it's not like I'm out here blabbering my mouth to no knowledge at all. I have knowledge and years of experience of looking at this activity. That is a fact, because I'm telling you that, and I have the backup to prove it. So we have to watch this area of Southern California, folks. That's a major concern. So when you introduce this area of earthquake activity around Southern California with the inland activity, and towards us, to us here, that seems like a lot of activity in a long period, right? Bakersfield to this area of Nevada, man, that would take a couple hours to drive. But tectonically speaking here, it's only a hop, skip, and a jump. The major strain out here against the Pacific plate and the North American plate is great, to where we're seeing elevated activity hundreds of miles away from the plate boundary. And we've seen that significantly out here against western Nevada. Las Vegas northwestward here. Look at that line of activity. That right there tells me that this major region here across the plate boundary, Southern California, is on a major time zone for potential major earthquake activity. That is no joke out here, folks. So I'm going to continue to if you want to call preaching that, so be it. But I call my knowledge here, and I'm watching this earthquake activity. I've seen it, and we're watching for some larger scale activity out here against the plate boundary, which is the San Andreas Fault. Watch that very closely, folks. I'm not even joking. I hope I don't have to come back here a couple hours later and say I told you so, but that's the facts. Northern California got a bunch of activity here across the Clear Lake volcanic field. These earthquakes obviously related to the hydrothermal operations here that are occurring with the Calpine Energy Solutions. Look them up, okay? These guys produce earthquakes in their process. They're producing earthquakes out there. There's a whole process involved in regards to injecting raw sewage below, the heated energy below, to produce energy, so to speak, there for the Bay Area. Woohoo! Humans, man, goodness, they have a way of producing energy. I tell you what, I would have never thought of that. All right, let's see what we got here for tremor activity. Nothing. In fact, we have seen a huge drop here in the last 2 days, going from elevated tremor activity here over the last month to absolutely nothing whatsoever here across the Pacific Northwest in terms of the Cascadia tremor activity. So it's a little odd, but we have seen an elevated tremor activity here in the last 30 days with about 13,000 epicenters of tremor, mainly across the north central area of the Cascadia, a little bit down south here across the southern end. And those tremor activities are observant and it tells me right there that there's strain building up upstream. If I could take this hand here and draw that to the west, to the left, that would tell me that there's strain accumulating up here across the locked area of the Cascadia subduction zone. And that happens generally over time to produce a 7, or not a 7, but a 9.0 earthquake or greater across the Cascadia subduction zone area. So, you know, it's not fear-mongering, folks. You can look it up. It's good science. There's bad science, there's pseudoscience, there's good science, and that is good science right there. Look it up. Couple earthquakes down there in the last hour or so. Look at that, 0.7, right smack dab on the San Andreas Fault, the southern end. You know, that's what I'm talking about. There's been a lot of earthquake activity here, a lot of rainfall in the last couple years, and I've said that a couple years ago here that we should watch for some elevated activity here in Southern California following all this rainfall activity that we've seen over the last couple winters. We've seen Tropical Storm Hillary, I think that's the name of it, produce tremendous amount of rainfalls out here that we haven't seen in recorded history. Also, you know, Salton Sea, you got the Death Valley area. I've seen a lot of rainfall. Overall, that rainfall accumulation out here is producing the mega potential out here of a larger earthquake activity. If you think about it, a little bit of lubrication out here will produce some adjustment in a major locked area. It takes a little while for the rainfall and lubrication to adjust downstream underneath the area, but goodness, does it come up. It comes back. So keep an eye there on Southern California, folks. It's, you know, it's, you don't want to say, here's one thing you don't want to say, that, and I seen this on the Twitter account, X account here a couple days ago, or actually last night, that, oh, it's no biggie. Really, folks, it's no biggie. This is Southern California. We see earthquakes all the time. Yeah, okay. Watch my videos and you'll see that this is not normal. Okay? Do not do that. Please don't do that. Got a 4.1 along the Aleutian Trench up here across Alaska. Very shallow earthquake here preceding the Aleutian Trench, which is a major subduction zone area. And it's in a location here west of where we've seen some 8-pointers in the years past here to the east. This area very capable of producing some large-scale earthquake activity, 8-pointer or above. We haven't seen this area produce that activity in quite a while. And I say this because we haven't seen any 8-pointer activity in over 3 years. We are expected, or at least on average, to see an 8-pointer every year, if not every other year. And it's been over 3 years now. So keep an eye on subduction zones, areas that are capable of producing an 8-pointer, such as the San Andreas Fault. Hopefully we're not jinxing it. And we'll go from there. But this area prior to the subduction zone is very curious here. 4.1, 6 miles deep. Obviously, strain is quite accumulated out here across this area of the Aleutian Trench. Further out and about, some deeper activity there into the Tonga Trench. Got a 4.4 earthquake there into the Tonga Trench. Fairly deep earthquake. Let's see what we got there. That's from early, well, yeah, earlier this afternoon, a fairly deep, super deep, actually, 323 miles deep here for a 4.4 into the Tonga Trench there. But if you look at the historical earthquake activity here in the last couple days, or at least in the last 24 hours, goodness, there has been a swarm of earthquake activity here in this region. And I'm really surprised these certain areas that have been locked for many hundreds of years have not triggered. Talking about New Zealand, really nothing going on there across the area for now. Across the Mediterranean, 4.5 out here across the Red Sea area. that a little interesting earthquake activity, right? Well, hold on a second here. 4.1 Iran. I take that back. Outside the Red Sea area, which is down here, into Iran. A couple other 2s out there as well. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. South Sandwich Trench, 5.1. The South America area, quite a few 4s and 3s stirring up down southward. We've followed this migration of earthquake activity here recently, and it is increasing. Obviously, it's increasing here southward, so we'll watch for some further larger scale activity. 3.4 Puerto Rico area coming in right now as we speak. Right there north of San Juan. There's that 3.4 earthquake. All right, South America out there on the sun. What's going on, South America out in the sun? That's probably not a good idea, right? We got a couple of flares stirring up out here on the solar disk, Earth-facing side of the solar disk here. Western limb shooting off a couple different flares. Look at that. A decent flare and a couple of flares here. South center disk here. And out on the eastern limb looking quite active. So, goodness. I mean, it's we are looking at some major uptick potential there in the solar flare activity as we head into solar maximum. We are not at solar maximum currently. That is expected next year during about midsummer. So, even though we're looking at a lot of flare activity, we could have the potential for much further more in the forecast. G2 storming conditions occurring here on Tuesday night. Okay, I believe this is for Tuesday night. This is tonight, tomorrow night, Monday night, Tuesday night. We're expected maybe here. I've seen some significant auroras here across the planet. So I just got hiccups all of a sudden. So who's got a voodoo doll of me? Someone has it. They're kind of poking me here with the needle. How does that come about? Crazy. All right, so we'll watch for the G2 storming conditions here for Tuesday night. All right. Oh, yeah. Goodness. Nothing quite like being poked by a voodoo doll. Watch the southeastern or southern areas of the coast here, folks. Watch this very closely, because we're talking about here major. All right, hello, AT&T operator, are you there? All right, so look at this. Potentially a major hurricane coming into Louisiana area as we head towards the end of the week here. That's been very consistent, and whoever has a voodoo doll of me, please, please, pretty please, I'll take a pass here. Gotta watch this here across the southern end of the Gulf Coast. Oh my gosh. Why me? Why me, folks? Why is it happening to me? I always heard as a kid to put a paper bag over your head if you're having, these hiccups. But I've never tried it. I've never tried to put a paper bag over my head, but I'm tempted to put my pillow over my head right now because it's been consistent here. Goodness, I'm gonna. Okay, I'm gonna back out of here, folks. I'm gonna back out and check back in here in the morning because someone has successfully manipulated my my voice out here consistently, no doubt. And oh my gosh, we'll be back here. Isn't it crazy how hiccups come and go? But man, are they coming right now. So we'll be back here tomorrow, folks, for the oh my gosh. Why me? Why did I've never had a hiccup experience like I'm experiencing right now. So whether that's an earthquake sign or not, it's a little sketchy, folks. So if you do have a voodoo doll of me, please provide my wallet with extra $100 bills. Thank you very much. Oh my gosh, I'm out of here, folks. I'm sorry. I gotta end it because this is getting chaotic right now. We'll catch you guys back out here tomorrow morning for the Monday morning update. All right, guys. Good. Have a good night. Oh my gosh.